everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Introduction to Microeconomics at Ozarka College. Today what I thought I would do is give you just a little bit of feedback on the Chapter 8 activities that I finished grading this morning. And then I'm going to tell you what we've got coming up for Chapters 9 and 10 early next week. And then I'm also going to briefly mention the midterm exam. And I'll be sending out more information about that later, but I will talk a little bit about the midterm exam, which we'll have coming up the middle of next week. Okay? All right, so the first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the Chapter 8 activities this morning. I believe they were due Friday of last week. So I had graded what was turned in before I left Friday. I didn't do any grading over the weekend, so I finished grading the rest of those this morning. And so as soon as you can, go ahead and look at your grades for the Chapter 8 activities and read the corresponding grading comments and let me know if you have any questions at all. Most of you did well in the Chapter 8 activities. I'm going to talk specifically about just a few things, though. On the assignment, most of you did well on most of the questions on the assignment. There were a couple of questions that more than one of you had some problems with. And so because of that, I have created a Chapter 8 assignment review video. And I posted it here on the announcements page. I've also posted it on the activities page. And I would like you to watch that video. Even if you got all the points on the assignment, I think you would benefit from watching the video where I explain what I was looking for on each one of those questions. Especially the first question and the last question. There were a few of you that had problems explaining your answers and giving a full answer, accurate answer for those questions. And so, like I said, even if you got all the points on the assignment, I really would like you to watch the video. I think it will help you to prepare you for the midterm exam, which we've got coming up. So, also, what we learned about in Chapter 8, like I discussed in the last video, what you've learned about in Chapter 8 is going to carry over to Chapters 9 and 10 as far as the basic characteristics of the structure of a market and the various elements that we talked about there, the way that firms make production decisions in order to maximize profit, the golden rule of profit maximization. All those things are things that are going to be revisited just with different market structures in Chapters 9 and 10. And I'll explain more about that later. But like I said, I really feel like you would get some benefit, all of you would get some benefit from watching this Chapter 8 assignment review video. All right? So go ahead and do that as soon as you can. Let me know if you have questions about anything in Chapter 8 that you have questions about. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. All right? All right, the Chapter 8 discussion that we had that covered the flour auction in Holland, I thought that went very well. We were able to kind of look at a real-world market like a flour auction and apply what we learned about perfectly competitive market structures to that particular flour market. And we kind of discussed some of the similarities and also some of the differences in the flour auction and the perfectly competitive market structure. And I really enjoyed reading everyone's comments, especially the last question where I asked you to give some of your own examples of your online and standard auction experiences. Some of you didn't really have much there, and that's fine. But I really enjoyed reading. Those of you that did have some examples, I really enjoyed reading that. So keep up the good work on the discussion. I thought everybody provided some good information. I really enjoyed reading everyone's comments. So again, keep up the good work on that. The Chapter 8 test, most of you did well on that. But just as a reminder, you can take those tests as many times as you want to up until the due date. Your highest grade is automatically recorded. And I will be opening up those tests for review purposes to help you prepare for the midterm exam, which again we have coming up next week. Okay? All right. So that's Chapter 8. Again, if you have any questions about Chapter 8, let me know as soon as possible. Okay? All right. So that brings us to Chapters 9 and 10, which will be our next set of activities that will be due. Now, you'll notice on the activities page, right now we are on week 7 of the semester. We just started week 7. We don't have anything due this week, but we do have work due early next week, specifically Monday, October 7th. So 1 week from today, you've got the chapters 9 and 10 activities due. So you'll also notice under week 8, I've also, in addition to on the announcements page, I've also posted that Chapter 8 assignment review there as the first item under week 8. All right, so again, that's that video that I'd like you to watch. All right, so once you're done watching that Chapter 8 assignment review video, you should immediately get started on the Chapters 9 and 10 assignment, okay, and test and discussion. And that will, again, will all be due Monday, October 7th. So you've got about a week to be working on those. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Chapters 9 and 10. I've already kind of talked about this a little bit in previous videos and in emails that I've sent to you. But Chapter 9 is going to look at the other end of the spectrum of market structure than what we looked at in Chapter 8. Remember, in Chapter 8, we looked at one end of the spectrum of market structure, which is perfectly competitive market structure, where basically buyers and sellers are freely mobile, can enter and exit the market very easily, where they have perfect information. They have all the information about the price. The price is set in the market. There's no power over the price as far as the buyer or seller is concerned in a perfectly competitive market structure. Well, in Chapter 9, you're going to learn about the monopoly market structure, which is at the opposite end of the spectrum of market structure. So when we look at market structure, on one end, we have perfect competition or perfectly competitive market structure. And then on the other end, we have monopoly. Monopoly is the opposite of perfect competition. Whereas in perfect competition, you have many buyers and sellers. In monopoly market structure, you have one seller, and they have full control over the price they charge in the market. Of course, it's going to be dependent upon what the demand is, so they can't charge any price if they want to maximize profit, but they can have some control over the price they charge. And there are barriers to entry with monopoly. And so basically, as you go through Chapter 9, a lot of the characteristics that you'll look at for monopoly, it should seem clear to you that they're exactly the opposite of what you learned about perfect competition in Chapter 8. All right? So Chapter 9, you're going to learn about the monopoly market structure. All right. Then in Chapter 10, now that we will have looked at the opposite ends of the spectrum of market structure, in Chapter 10, we're going to look at some market structures that fall in between the two endpoints on the market structure spectrum. Specifically, we're going to look at monopolistic competition and oligopoly, which both have some characteristics of perfect competition as well as some characteristics of monopoly. So it's kind of a mixture of both. All right? And so you're going to learn about, in Chapter 10, about those last two types of market structure, monopolistic competition and oligopoly. Okay? So that's what you're going to be looking at in chapters 9 and 10. So again, I'd like you to watch that assignment, chapter 8 assignment review video, and then immediately get started on chapters 9 and 10. And that set of activities will take a little bit of time because there are some questions on the assignment that are going to take a considerable amount of time to answer. So the sooner you can get started on this set of activities, the better. Okay? Don't wait until Monday of next week because you probably won't have time to get it all completed. Okay? And remember, you've got on the chapters 9 and 10 assignment page, you've got resources available to you. You've got the PowerPoint slides under resources there. And of course, you've also got the videos that explain the concepts that are covered in those chapters. Okay? So just make sure you're using all the resources that you have available to you. And make sure that you're carefully reading through each question and each part of each question and answering each part of each question thoroughly using your own words. Okay? And let's see. Let me go back to activities here. All right. The other thing you'll notice under week 8 is the midterm exam. And so our midterm exam will cover chapters 1 through 10. That'll basically be all the chapters that we'll have covered up to the midway point of the semester. All right. And so to study for the midterm exam, you'll basically go back and study the concepts that were covered on the previous chapter test. And so in those chapter tests, previous chapter tests will be open for review purposes. So you'll be able to go back on any of the tests that you took. And hopefully you took all of them, but you'll be able to go back and review those concepts. Don't study the questions, though. Don't study the questions and the answers on the chapter test. Study the actual concepts, okay? Because the questions may be different than what you saw on the chapter test. So don't get in the habit of studying the questions and memorizing the questions and the answers. Study the concepts, okay? All right. And so that test, that midterm exam will be available from October 8th through the 10th of next week, which is basically Tuesday through Thursday of next week. All right? And so be working on that. I will send out, later this week, I will send out an email and also post an announcement that gives you some more specific information about the midterm exam. So be looking for that. And that's really all I have for you for today. So be working on those activities. Be preparing for your midterm exam. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And that's, like I said, that's all I have for you for today. So enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. And I'll probably talk to you again sometime later next week. Thank you.